What's up, chess fam, and welcome back to the channel. This is the round 12 recap of the Tata Steel Masters, and what an amazing day we had! So many exciting moments, one decisive result, and in the end, it is up to 5 people who can win this year's event, and it is going to be an amazing day today. And remember, the game started 4:30 and not 6:30, as it's the last game. So we might have an Armageddon as well, and it's going to be an exciting day. So do check in at chess.com TV. But let's check in with our results and the recap first. So we see 6 games end in draws, and only Harikrishna, Indian star, winning the game against Donchenko, who is sadly the tail ender and will likely finish in last place. But the most important game, not just the game changing, but the tournament changing result, was when Anish Giri failed to beat Alireza Firouzja in a position of strength, and that he should have won. Let's check into the leaders, guys. So that's what I was talking about. So as many as 5 leaders. So even Esipenko can win the event because it's a big long shot, but he has to win, and 7.5 players have to draw. Anish has to lose, so that's a hope for him. Again, Fabiano can win the event outright by winning the game. Firouzja is playing Radoslav Vojtacha. He can also win. Jorden Van Foreest also has a good chance here, while Anish Giri is currently the leader with 8 out of 12, and looks like is the favorite, guys. But remember, he could have been on 8.5 already. So we'll check in what went wrong in that game as well. But so much to play for, such an exciting day. I'm really excited to watch what happens in today's final. And do remember that no Dutchman has won the Tata Steel main event since 1985. That was Jan Timman who won the event 36 years ago. So this might just be the year where even Anish and Jorden, both Dutchmen, can finish 1-2 as well. That would be an incredible year for Dutch chess. So let's tune into first segment, that is check-in with Hari. So here we have a game where Hari is taking on Alexander Donchenko, the German star, and who was a last minute entrant to the event, and sadly the tail ender, but it was kind of expected. But he had a good event here, and you can see Hari putting on the pressure, and this is a lesson that we'll be learning in our quick tip section as well. So Harikrishna is putting on the pressure. It's not much, he's just putting it on. Remember, black has this pass pawn, and at one point it could have fizzled out to a draw. But you see Harikrishna trying to create some weaknesses here, not exchanging queens, of course. And yes, here we have some tickle going on. And yep, in this position, guys, Harikrishna had a chance, had a sniffle of a chance after Donchenko blundered with a4, and now after rook g5, white is completely winning because of the fact that this king is horribly placed, and it's just going to be super easy. When Harikrishna wasn't sure, as he said in his interview, but after c5, it's just GG's as rook c5, pawn comes to e5, queen switches over, and this king is now caught in a mating knight. So pawn to a3, this pawn is 2 squares away from queening, so it's just too little too late actually for Donchenko here. And now this could answer check threatened. So queen a8 check to our king, just Hari moves his king along, king e8, and now comes the finishing touch with rook b8 check, and after queen c6 is just a maiden 3 kind of situation. You wherever you move the king, I have queen to d8 check, and it's just game over. A lucky win for Harikrishna. Hari is back to 50%, so he has 6 out of 12, and he's again in the top half. So that's good news for Indian fans, and it's his second win of the event, so it's always going to be special. Let's check into our second segment, that is a second game. Yeah, game changing moment. In fact, as I said earlier, it's going to be a tournament changing segment as well, or moment, because remember, this is the position. This is a game where Anish could have led the event by 1 point instead of just half a point. So the most interesting moment is around this position. So white, if he wins this pawn, so Giri can win the game and the tournament outright. So it was up to Firouzja's Herculean defense. And yes, it was in this position that Firouzja later acknowledged that he should have gone with pawn to f6 and king getting the center in this way rather than the longer route via f8. Now Anish gets his king to b3 in a very nice way. You see, Firouzja wasted some tempi there, and finally now in this position we see a heroic comeback by Firouzja. He's plenty of pawns down. These two are passed pawns, but it was here in this position that Anish blundered with a4. Later he acknowledged, because this pawn on b4 is hanging throughout the game, so a4 shouldn't have been played, and white can just continue like this. But after a4, Firouzja comes up with the goods, pushes his passed pawn, creating a big threat. And you can see this king and knight are really precariously situated, but they do the job just right. This rook is not doing much, but he gets the work done. And finally, as you can see, if you just take, it's gonna be king e4, and then even black might have some chances. So after takes, now it's one knight versus four pawns, and Hanish still had some chances in this end game, but it was too difficult, I would say, to find this. And yes, after knight f4, Anish had a chance to win the game with king a4 and something like knight e6, b5, king b6, rook to g6, rook a7, check, king b4, rook e7, and now these pawns start running up the board because this knight is pinned. So Anish had this chance, but instead he played the pawn to g4, and now this knight comes back with tempo, and it's just a draw here because too many pawns are hanging. And now uh, Firouzja can even give up the knight for a couple of pawns to make the draw. And here the draw was agreed. The tournament still is alive. The Dutchman hasn't managed to win the event completely. It's going to be his first win, remember, and no Dutchman has won it in 36 years. That's going to be a big milestone there. So we hope Anish does well, as he's a big crowd puller and a very big. He has a big fan base in India as well. So let's check in with our tactical shots of the day. That's between Aryan Tari versus Nils Grandelius here, and they started off with some friendly Nordic banter. Both of these players from the Scandinavian region. That is, Tari is from Norway, while Grandelius is Swedish number one. So we get into this position, and here we thought the game will fizzle out into a draw after this sacrifice, as it's a well-known draw. We have seen plenty of draws in this position, but kudos to Grandelius, who plays on. Remember, black is threatening knight to f3, checkmate. But after bishop e2, now we see some interesting moments here. Queen takes f2, king h3, queen e2. Now you have to protect this pawn, and you have to give up this pawn with check, which is a difficult move, but Grandelius found it. And here it looks like plenty of action is there on with black, but after queen b7, a blunder which helped the game to fizzle out into a draw. Grandelius had only one chance to play rook e1 and try to play for a win. After queen b7, it's just a perp. We see plenty of tickle, and there's nothing more. But a very nice game. I'll of course put the game link in the description for you guys to check it out. So finally, let's check in with a quick tips segment. That is, keep seeking and you will find a way, like Harikrishna did against Donchenko. Secondly, it's never over until it's over, like that we saw in Giri versus Firouzja. And of course, Giri was totally winning, but you can never relax. And Firouzja kept fighting, and he was rewarded in the end. And lastly, opening preparation is as important as calculation, as we saw in Grandelius versus Tari. Both the players very well prepared, but Grandelius taking the risk, not repeating and going for the riskier calculation by even calculating more. But in the end, it was still a draw. Lastly, guys, let's check in with the pairings for tomorrow. Oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. So it's Magnus Carlsen versus MVL. Who would have thought this would be an irrelevant pairing? Firouzja versus Wojtacek. Firouzja can win the event if he wins tomorrow. David Anton versus Anish. Again, as some, I think some super grandmaster said, it's easier to beat David Anton rather than draw with him. So Anish is playing black. He has his hand task cut out. Aryan Tari versus Fabiano. Remember, Fabiano also can win the event with a win with the black pieces tomorrow. Jorden versus Niels. Jorden would be happy. He playing white against Niels, who's not having a great event, so he has good chances as well. And Donchenko versus Esipenko is there. Duda versus Harikrishna. Again, our Indian hope has a chance to win one more game. And of course, Firouzja versus Wojtacek. Firouzja, I think, is the favorite. Anish is the number one favorite, and Firouzja is the number two favorite. It's going to be super exciting, guys. Join us at 4:30 p.m. guys, Indian time. Game starts 2 hours ago because we might have an Armageddon as well. And I'll bring you the recap with the champion later tomorrow.